I want to welcome in now a Texas Republican Congressman Pete Sessions. Congressman, thanks for being on.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I want to start, we'll get to the back and forth on the Hill and what's going to happen in the coming hours and days here in terms of partial shutdown or potential partial shutdown. But I do want to begin with that breaking news as we came to air the arrest of former CNN anchor Don Lemon. Of course, he was part of that group, entered that church, disrupted parishioners. Of course, they have a constitutional right to practice religion, and that's part of the charges, we understand. Now federal authorities are taking action specifically against a journalist, Don Lemon. He, in his words at that time, was practicing journalism that day, which of course is also constitutionally protected. So your thoughts this morning, Congressman, on that?
Well, I think that the American people have recognized that the term civil disobedience is something that we have admired going back to perhaps Dr. Martin Luther King, perhaps others in our country. We have moved past civil disobedience to where now we're to a point where they are obstructionist and interfering with federal law enforcement. When you go into a house of worship, these are two also protected elements of that we have, freedom of religion. But I believe that this has moved past that from civil disobedience to lawful misconduct. And I think lawful misconduct is something that any judge would err on the side of understanding they have crossed a line, and it's happening in Minnesota, it's happening here in Texas, and unfortunately there have been 2 deaths as a result of this, of not just interfering, but actually they're to impede and to destroy the effective law enforcement mechanisms that we know and have in this country.
Well, we'll be watching that story thread throughout the day for sure. Congressman, appreciate your perspective on that. I want to pivot back to Washington now. And specifically, I want to start with the president's announcement early this morning. A lot of chatter on Wall Street today already before the opening bell. We're talking, this potentially partial government shutdown in just a moment. But the president comes and wakes up this morning, pushes out his announcement that he has a pick now for the Fed chair position. He said this on Truth Social this morning. I am pleased to announce that I am nominating Kevin Warsh to be the chairman. I believe we have the president's post, if we can pull that up, to be the chairman of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve System. That's what the president wrote this morning. So a lot of people surprised by this pick as we woke up this morning. Your take?
Well, we can be surprised. I think Kevin certainly has the background, the intellect. He's a student of not only economics, but also of the Fed. The Fed over the years has found themselves in a circumstance where I think that they have tried to cater to the president. That is not happening now. Their interest rates, I believe, are still high as compared to the threat or the problem that could be in the marketplace. I think our economy, as reported by any financial marketing, is that it's holding steady. We still have too many people in this country that are paying too high of rates, not only for houses, but also to make businesses run. And so I think the market needs a correction like this from the Fed where we lower interest rates. The president has put his name on this, and the president deserves this opportunity. It will be till May, but lots of debate between now and then. I like Kevin.
Yeah. OK. And a lot of people hadn't been watching him. He wasn't in the inner circle of consideration. So once again, we'll see how it plays out in the hours ahead. And we'll see how Wall Street certainly reacts to the pick as well. Meanwhile, Capitol Hill facing this very different kind of deadline today, the looming shutdown. The president warning lawmakers that a partial shutdown would be damaging and could slow down our country. The House, of course, you heard Kilmeny's report this morning, not back until Monday. So it looks like, indeed, there will at least be, maybe, even if it's short term or short lived, a partial shutdown. It's unavoidable at this point, is it not?
Well, it could be. The president has indicated that DHS does have money for some period of time. I don't know what that period of time is, but we have Department of Homeland Security agents all around the world. They are in capitals, they're at airports, they're there to forward look at people who might be coming to the United States, as well as other packages. It is essential that we fund Department of Homeland Security. And you and I both know that 2 weeks ago, the House passed each of these matters, the 6 bills, on a bipartisan basis. And then the changes that occurred in Minneapolis have brought that back now down to a point of contention. I believe that what we've got to do is make sure that we show the stability of our ability to work together. It will come to the Rules Committee, and then Republicans, conservatives, just like myself, will not back away from our duty and responsibility to protect this country. And where we had some 13 million people that came across the border who we do not know who they are, we're going to continue on that job. But I think the president does see where there has to be some change of operations. I know Tom Homan understands that well. And if given that opportunity, I think that we will see a different viewpoint of knowledge between federal law enforcement and state and local, which is what needs to be part of the equation.
Yeah, and sir, just to be clear, it's not just Homeland Security that would be impacted by the partial shutdown if that does in fact happen. Justice, a sliver of justice, a sliver of the Treasury. There are a number of impacts. IRS, you know, at a time that we're talking, you know, tax prep time, this is pretty critical. The funding would all lapse.
Well, and what you speak of, I agree with, but I've not seen that list, nor what the deal actually is. It will come to the Rules Committee. Members of Congress are going to have this afternoon a briefing. And when we get that briefing, by the way, that changed from 10 o'clock this morning to 4 o'clock. So it's still in movement. And I hate to second guess that, but I will tell you, conservatives will stay on the side of making sure that we are going to protect the Homeland Security and men and women, children in our midst, because that is our obligation and our authority and responsibility.
We'll be covering it, whether it happens in the morning or the afternoon. Congressman, great to have you on. Texas Republican Congressman Pete Sessions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.